Hi guys, it's Cyran. You're listening to the Not Wonder Woman podcast. This is episode 10, How to Negotiate a Job Offer. Welcome to the Not Wonder Woman podcast. No capes, no superpowers, just hustle.
Not Wonder Woman removes the myth of the ladies who, quote, have it all and gives practical insight to help you, the working woman, conquer the world like the boss babes we know you are.
Welcome back to the Not Wonder Woman podcast. It is Mel and Cyran. We are back and it is Friday. And today we are talking all things negotiation after you get the job offer. So we are super excited to bring that to you. Some of our wins and some of our failures. And we hope everybody enjoys. Cyran, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mel?
I am great. I can't wait to talk about my failures.
Ditto. Yes. I think this is a really important topic because everything I've read suggests that women don't negotiate. Have you read that? Women don't negotiate. They don't ask. They just, I've read, I don't know if that's true, but I have certainly negotiated.
It's been true for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got better at it over time?
It's been, I think so, but I have been that person that is just either grateful to get out of where I am or just accepting that that's the value that I offer and not appreciating that a negotiation is normal. I think that's, I think I didn't expect that it's a normal thing. What about you?
I have certainly, I don't know. I feel like I've been negotiating for quite a while. There have been a couple of instances in between negotiating and where I am now, where I haven't necessarily negotiated and I've just taken whatever was on offer. And that's again, because I wanted to get out of somewhere that I was. So, yeah. But I think that's only happened once since I started negotiating. And I do remember the first occasion that I negotiated quite hard because I was adamant. I had the number in my head. I had a number of other things that I wanted. And the person that I was negotiating with, who wasn't the company that I was going to work with, this is via a recruiter, was trying to push me. They didn't want me to take that, the higher salary. So I do remember I have negotiated quite a bit, I think. I don't
Good for you.
I don't know if that was intentional. I just think it's like I certainly wouldn't call it negotiating. I think I just did it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think part of it is understanding what you're worth, know, and being confident in that. And you should be, right? But it took me a long time to, I guess, personally get there, but you should do that. And I think also, we're talking about this in the context of our dream job series, and nothing is going to be a dream job if you feel like you're underpaid.
Oh, definitely not. No.
So to me, this is one of the key, critical factors to get right. Because if you really want this to be the job you're going to stick with for a long time, or feel like you're valued and feel like they appreciate you, you're going to have to be at a level that is where you value your worth. Yes. And that's hard sometimes for women to accept or to think about, or, whatever. But so just as we think about it, if you were to get an offer from a company, or what has been your practice, if you got an offer from them, what's step one after that? Let's talk folks through the process.
So I've been offered the job, and then I've been offered the remuneration package, or just the job.
Let's think about that. Maybe just the job.
Maybe just the job. Point. So firstly, I'm probably very happy, celebrating, and then so this is my experience. It's a call that says, "Hi, Cyran, how are you? Just wanted to touch base with you following, interviewing however many weeks ago. We finished our round of interviews, and we really liked your interview." And you actually don't know what's coming after that bit, do you? Yeah. We really liked your interview. We thought you were very good. And they maybe give you some feedback. And then
it's
they say
either a but
it's
or
either
an
a but or an and. Exactly. And you're like, oh my God, get to the point. And then they say, and we'd love to offer you the job. We'd love you to come and work with us. And you're like, ah. And actually, you just want to go, yay! But you're just like, oh, brilliant, thank you. And you just do this quite reserved, like, you know, thanking, and you want to sound happy, glad, but you want to keep it quite, you know, toned down. So I do all of that. And then my experience is that they say that they will email the offer. I have had people say, look, and salary wise, this is what we want to offer you, and it's X. And when they've done that over the phone, there's often a conversation that is, this is what we want to offer you, and we don't have room to maneuver, or this is what we want to offer you, and we want to know what you think about that. And my response to any offer, whether it's on the phone or via email, is to say, right, thank you, like either looking forward to getting the offer or thanks for that. I'm going to have a think about it, or I'd like to accept, depending on what information they've given you. I just don't actually, have I said I want to accept? I think I've always said I'll come back to you.
Right.
I'll come back to you because I don't know what the contract says. I don't know exactly what the offer is. And if I've got to review all of these things, then I need to go and review those things.
Yeah.
And make a decision.
I think that's totally it for me too. And I will say, you know, to me, I do try to prepare. If I can't think of the questions I should ask right then, like to get more details. Like if they just tell you a dollar amount, but they don't tell you the vacation days, or they don't tell you about the flex time policy. Yeah. I do, no matter what they send me, you know, I try to make sure that in the email response, and I'm with you, I do not accept immediately now, although I did do that once, and that was much to my detriment. But I will say, you know, I do try to get into the nitty gritty of some of the other things that are valuable to me, even if they're not part of their policy, whether that's a flex time or something like that. You know, like I need, you know, 1 day a week where I can go home at 2:00 and not feel like that's a big deal or something, just to deal with, I don't know, dry cleaning and doctor's offices and things like that.
Yeah.
Know? So that's a value proposition, you know, really thinking about what those are beforehand. So that you can ask those questions whenever you do get an offer, because that's going to be the way I think you craft the job that you want. And while they may have a job description, you should also, you know,
100%.
You should have that job description. Yeah. And so, you know, I have though failed sometimes as far as saying yes immediately, and that was like my worst decision ever. Ever. But I do love to bounce my ideas off my husband, my friends, things like that immediately after an offer, because I feel like talking it out gives you perspective on other like things other companies do or other companies offer that they may or may not be including in what they're giving you. And so that just giving perspective on that, I think helps me to think about it and negotiate. You know, when you think about preparing for the job and waiting for the offer and getting it back, what are you doing? What tangible steps are you doing so that you can be confident in your worth? And so what I mean by that is, are you looking at market data? Do you know what other people are paid in the industry? Do you know what you need? Like, how do you think about that stuff?
Yeah, so I am definitely, probably before the offer, I've looked at the market. I've looked at the kind of company that they are, what the job description, where my skills lie, what value I think I'm bringing to the table, and I've got a number in my head. I've got a number before I even sent my CV usually, and I don't know whether or not the offer should be the first time you're hearing anything about the salary or the brackets. I think there should be some kind of indication, ideally. And I know from my own personal hiring experience that sometimes we ask the question, what are your salary expectations? So you have an idea of what that person is expecting, and you can, if they're way off, you can tell them right then and there. You know, you don't have to take them through the whole recruitment process to then let them down with unrealistic salary expectations. So I would like to think that I've got a number, and at that point where the offer's being made, we're not necessarily worlds apart. I've definitely done the same thing as you and accepted straight away. And it's almost, I think that was when I was much more junior in my career and didn't know that there were other things besides salary to negotiate.
Right.
You know, if you were happy with the salary, then that was pretty much it. But I've been having these conversations with friends now, like other friends that have children and to whom the salary is not the only thing. And it's very important, even just to be able to juggle life, that you be able to work flexibly. And that isn't specific or related to children that have parents or adults, that have children. It's not solely related to them. Everybody has life to juggle, and sitting in an office 9 till 5:30, 9 till 6. How often? What are your typical hours? They're definitely not till 5, are they?
You know that I get to work. I don't do things early, like so
right,
I'm not
okay.
an early bird. So I typically roll in at and this is old law firm hours.
Fine.
And it worked well for me. I don't know. Maybe I should have never left a law firm. I don't mean that, but it was like 10 to 7 for me.
Right,
that was kind of my, like I was 10:30. I would work out in the morning. That was part
I've
of my
got a friend
life,
who works those hours. I have a friend. He's in a law firm and he works those hours, and it works for him. Yeah. He said he misses the morning rush. He strolls in at 10:30. He does his day job, and then he goes and it's nice and peaceful. So I feel like there is something to be said for doing a later day, certainly. Yeah. But yeah, I think that.
But you do want to make sure that's okay with them, right? That's part of my negotiation.
Yeah.
So I will tell you. Like if my corporate hours, and companies are different, all companies are different depending on kind of their needs. But there are some that, my when I worked at a big oil company, they started at 6 or 7 in the morning, and that was typical for them because they had big shift changes globally on 12-hour days operationally. And it was 6 to 6 and then 6 at night to 6 in the morning for people. And so I had to negotiate that I would be available, that I would be so that early on, because let me tell you, there's no good work.
Expectations.
There is no good work coming out of my brain at 6 a.m. Like that is not, like nobody wants to pay me for that work.
Oh gosh, just chop that part of Marty's day off.
Yeah. So, they want to chop it off because it's just not going to be useful to them. So, but that part is something totally to consider when you've looked at the company and when you are negotiating with them that, kind of what are the working hours you really want from me? It's a great point because you're right. Life happens and you happen and you want to give them your best hours or very good hours. And, when is that for you? And that's an important question to answer. And mine starts about 10 a.m.
Well, I think just having that awareness is a good point to go back with an employer. But, some people do think that it's just salary that's to negotiate. And I just want to say that it's not. You need to make sure... One thing I will say is it's very expensive, both time and money-wise, for the person that recruited you or for the company that recruited you to recruit you. So they do not want to do this again very soon. Because they don't. So the fact that they have found you, they would like to keep you unless something happens in the business that means it has to change. But they would like to keep you for as long as possible, for as long as you're doing a good job. So if you can present to them, this is what makes me do my best work. This is what makes me a really good employee. And it's setting up my day like this, making sure I've got a day that I work from home, even if it's half a day, as you said, or a whole day. I will do all of my appointments on those days, so I won't be taking any time out of work. It just shows that, to me, it may be, and as an employer, sometimes it's a logistical bit of an issue because I may need to get approval from someone else to allow you to do those things. But if you can justify why you're negotiating those things, it makes it 10 times easier for me to go back and either get approval or to say yes, because I think, right, I want this person. She's clearly very good. And in order for me to get the best from her, what does she need? Because it's a two-way thing. Like, I'm not going to go and sit in an office and trade my life solely for money. I can't do it. So it needs to be for everything. It needs to fit into my life. And do you think that there's been a bit of a shift in how people are doing that nowadays compared to however long ago?
Oh, certainly. I think about it, and you know that most people, or at least in the United States, they had joined a company, when they were 22, right out of college, and they stayed for 40 years. That used to happen all the time. And I think companies might have been more loyal to people than companies are now.
Mm-hmm.
But, business is business, and you are in your own mind a business, and so are they.
Yeah.
And so to the extent that, if tough times come or bad things happen, you're going to get let go, or, and vice versa. If tough times come, you're not going to necessarily be loyal to them the same way I think you were maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago. At least that's what I perceived to be out there. I just remember when I was a baby lawyer interviewing people, and they'd been with companies 30, 40 years. And I thought that was amazing. And I had never even thought about that horizon with one company in my mind. Like, that just seems so foreign.
Mm-hmm.
It seems, and as somebody who had like moved around every 2 years for the last 12 years prior to me kind of getting into law firm work and things like that, I just found that amazing because I had just been on the move. And so I think the short answer is people move a lot more readily now. People are just on the go. And that's because we're more mobile. We're more agile. We can do this now. And what a blessing that is. And so, I do think it has changed the whole negotiating tack, that is out there for us. So that's been fun to see that. But I think it's also important to remember, like you just said, it is not just the salary. There's so much more that makes a place work or not work for you. And that's what you have to negotiate. And that's individualized, but think about what those things are that are important, I think, for you. And the one other point I was just going to say is on the value proposition, I do try to make sure I do my market research before I make any responses back. So if most of the companies in an industry are flex time or every other Friday off, or or they have a salary range, a median salary range in a certain level, I like to know that because that gives them feedback, real tangible feedback that this is market conditions and they need to adjust to that if they're off in the offer to me.
Right. Okay. I like that.
So I think that's an important thing that you need to spend time on, and recruiters typically help with that. I mean, they will. They will know that, but there are some industry rags that are out there, or ways you can find out, median lawyer salaries in downtown London, for big types of, law firms or big types of energy companies or whatever it is, telecommunication, you can find it by industry. And that's important because then that at least gives you a scale to work on. Even if you know your number individually, it's helpful if you can back it up with not just the idea of the number you want, but market data, because that will drive.
That is true. Yeah.
That will drive change in them. I mean, they can't ignore that.
No, I agree. I agree with you. Have you, as a hiring manager, ever been in a job offer negotiation with somebody that just wants to negotiate for negotiation's sake? They're just, I don't know, maybe they took a negotiation class and they just want to use those skills. Has it ever been difficult? Or
it's a good one. That is a great point. I will say this. Hopefully I don't let people that just like to negotiate for negotiation's sake get much further in the interview process.
You could hopefully we smelled them out early. Yeah.
Because that you need somebody who wants to see the big picture of how it can work for the business and for them. And so if that is not the motivation, if it's just for negotiation, then that lets me know early on, this isn't about the business and it isn't about helping the business. It's about you, or it's about your desire, or you're just kind of an ornery person.
Yeah. I mean, no. I totally agree. And I don't know if you listen to Tim Ferriss's podcast, but he recently had I think certainly this year, had Richard Branson on his show. And Richard Branson said that a negotiation is about both parties leaving the table happy with the deal. It's not about getting one over on the other party. So I think both employers and prospective employees should have that in mind, that actually, yes, I know that, as an individual, you might want to travel around and you might want to see the world. But if you have interviewed for a job and you want that job, you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're asking for also suits the business, and that person, the employer, may actually have their hands tied. They may not be able to give you everything. So, just being aware that just because you've asked for it and the answer may be no, it may not be just because they're trying to be difficult. They just may not be able to give you the thing that you're asking for. I've recently had a friend who was doing exactly the same thing. She was negotiating. She accepted the offer in principle and then negotiated afterwards. And I think, it was met. It was quite an easy conversation. She didn't get everything she was asking for. She wanted to change the working day by half an hour. And the employer said, we can't do that because we're following this kind of, working pattern. And we need to make sure that everybody, especially you, are here at that time. But what we can do is, look at this in 6 months' time and see if there are other days we could be flexible with. So it's just the compromise. I think just being aware that there is a compromise and that you won't necessarily get everything. And I would only choose the things that our material, don't haggle over everything.
Right. That is not, I don't think, setting you up to be there long term. And that's the point.
Yes.
That's what you want to be there for, is long term. And so setting the expectations of things that are important to you is just key. But look, if you want to be a part of that company, you may have to make some sacrifices. Work is hard, and we've said that before. Work is it is a sacrifice. It is time and energy and money and in something else. I will also say, depending on the level you're going in at, there is more flexibility based on kind of who the hiring manager is. Some hiring managers will get the edict from on high that says this is the rule and there is nothing else you can do. Yes. And so sometimes the person you're negotiating with literally has no room, and that's not because it's a bad company. It's just maybe company protocol, things like that. I don't know. I mean, it is quite hard to know that, and unless you're on the inside of a company. But I do think it is important for people to know some of those things are not about them. It is just about either company needs or hands being tied, and that's don't take that as a reflection on you necessarily. But it's just it's a way of life that is there. As I think through what you are thinking about with the other side, how do you are you doing emails back to them? Are you calling them back? What is the way that you're typically responding to do these negotiations? What's the manner?
Do you know what? I think if I was doing this again now, I'd probably think that I'd be doing it via email. But when I think back to occasions when I have negotiated, it's been on the phone. I've been having these conversations on the phone, and I find them somewhat easier because you can read somebody a bit better than you can on email. You can hear the tone of voice. You can hear, you can put your point across without sounding maybe too aggressive, or you can say, especially if you're talking about salary, you could say, I was actually really looking for a bracket of X and Y, or I was looking for something at the top end of that bracket and my number is X. So I think, and you can put the tone and inflection and make it sound, you can keep that likability. You want that person, whoever you're negotiating with, even if it's HR, you want them to still like you when you come in the business. So I think for me, on the phone has always worked because I just found that it's more of a personal interaction, and then you can give some justifications, you can give some reasons, and that person, you're trying to convince the person, I suppose, unless they've got these really sort of strict boundaries that they're working within, you're trying to convince that person as to why you will be a better employee if you're given the things that you're trying to negotiate. So I think just bearing that in mind, it's not a battle. You want to go and work for this company and they want you. That's why they gave you the offer. So you're just trying to meet in the middle.
Right. That's yes. You brought up such a good point that I think I failed to talk about before. When you initially are going into a company, and I just think this is important because you mentioned right now, you were talking about maybe the bracket when you're in this negotiation that was important to you. Sometimes in the US, there's questions, and I don't know if this is true there, before you even interview that ask, what is your current salary and what is your desired salary? And I always hedge on that. And I don't know if we've talked about that. I'm not
answering that question. We have not talked about this, but don't ask me my current salary because
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It has no bearing on this role because you haven't actually asked. In order to make that question relevant, you need to say to me, what is your current role? What is your current, you need to get a full breakdown of what I'm doing at my current place of work. And what was it? It's too much. That number on its own doesn't mean anything. My current salary now, when you're going for another job, doesn't mean anything. You would need to add in the reasons why I took that job in the first place, what was going on in my... There are 100 other things that you need to add to that number in order to understand the jump. Presumably, it's going up between my current salary and my desired salary. And actually... Even the words desired salary, it's not my desired salary. That's the salary I'm going to leave my current job for when I get it. when I eventually get it.
But I think your point is well taken though, is that you shouldn't be talking about these kind of numbers until the negotiation phase.
I don't
so.
think so.
Whatever has happened, I think in the previous ones or whatever you want to put on there, first of all, they can never know your exact salary.
No.
So in the salary, if they force that as an answer in a form filling out, put in whatever number you need to put in.
Yes.
As your top dollar on what you're getting paid now, because they can't confirm that.
No, they can't. And actually, would you? I mean, I've had friends be very nervous about putting the number in there because there's quite a considerable jump in their mind between what they're currently on and what they want next. Right. But presumably, people rarely make a sideways step. Unless, you're coming back into the market. Maybe there are a number of reasons why you would make a sideways step, location, lots of things. But if you're moving, you're going to be taking the step up, in my opinion. So, yes, you're going to have a salary increase. You're going to get more work, more responsibility, all of those things that justify the step up. And I don't know if I like that question. I
hate it.
I would question why somebody's asking me that.
It's on so many forms. So anyway, I failed to say that, but I think it's important to wait until this stage, like right now, before you give that answer. Yeah. Because otherwise you're negotiating against yourself. You may have put in a number that is 20,000 pounds less than they were planning to offer.
Pounds. I love how you said pounds.
I got it. It did not come out naturally at all. But it's true. Like you could be setting yourself up for them to already make you a low ball offer, and that's not good.
No,
I mean, that's,
I get it
early on.
Actually, I think we should do a podcast that's just about negotiating because I think that would be. I'd love to hear some of your tactics for negotiation, and I'm sure I've got so many improvements to make. But I think that would be really good. So your suggestion is to not give any salary details until they want you. Is that what you mean?
I'm saying. If I'm forced to give them on an interview kind of questionnaire early on, I would I tend to go higher on my own internal salary and calculate some of the intangibles. So whether that is like a pension payment that I was getting, as well as a salary, as well as paid time off, I will inflate that value and put that in there, because that is, to get to your point of, that is the number. If they're forcing me to answer that question, I'm going to take into account kind of the value of everything, my bonus, a lot of things.
Of course.
Because often they're just like, they're just asking you a one line, and that's not right. If I am working with a recruiter, I certainly will tell them the value. And even with the recruiter though, I will give them a range, and I will certainly have kind of the lowest part of my range and the higher part of my range. So hopefully he can help get me somewhere in the middle. Yes. I will share with him, and I will let him or her know you can or cannot share this information. Okay. But for the recruiter, I only want them looking for places for me that would fit my range.
Yes.
So, but up until a salary, when I'm in negotiation, if I am in interviews, I will say I have to see the whole package. Like these things are important to me, and I'm going to need to see the whole offer before.
So is that would you use those exact words? Because I think that sometimes when I'm speaking to people I know, and because people do come and bounce their offers with me and say, I'm not too sure about this. I want this. How do I go about it? And it's very much getting the words together to respond with. So I think it'd be really useful if we can say, this is how I would set this out. So if you're trying to reserve your position with regards to the salary, how would you say that to an employer?
Sure. And that's asked often before the offer, clearly, right? That's often an interview question. So you have to be ready before the negotiation. So my short answer to that I've given now, the last few interviews I've done, has been, I am interested in this company. I really enjoyed the interviews that I've had to date. I think it'll be important for me to look at the market data, and it'll be important for me to look at the complete offer that you may be able to present to me before I make any determination on accepting or rejecting or understanding if this is the right fit for me long term and for you long term. And just that, I think, kind of answer is a hedge. It's totally a hedge, and they know that. But you don't owe them any more than that. You don't have to feel like you have. You're not employed by them. So you need to be able to feel sure that you are confident in all the parts of the offer that feel good to you, because if this is your dream job, you have to think about all these things. It is not just a number. It can't just be a number. So I now have given myself the grace and now the confidence to say those things, to say, I've got to wait, I've got to look, and they need to say, I think people are worth that much. They need to say the same thing to protect themselves and to be able to think about it. Because in an interview, I don't know, I'm nervous. I'm just thinking I can't, don't feel like you always have to give the answer that is a tangible one. I think you want time to think in an environment that is not a pressure cooker.
No. And I mentioned this in the minisode that interview jitters are a real thing. Everybody gets out of an interview and sort of kicks themselves. Oh, I could have said that, and I could have said that. And I think if you accept or give too much information about salary expectations or the whole package, as it's been presented, you will kick yourself when you have had a moment to think. And one thing in my mind that I would be thinking, if a candidate said to me what you just said, I would be really impressed with their confidence in saying that, because I don't think it's something that everybody is saying. And I would be really intrigued by somebody who has the foresight and confidence to confidently say, I'm going to need to take your offer as you present it to me and think about it. And I really, really like that. I really like that.
And isn't that a person you want to work with?
Definitely.
Anyway?
I want them on my team.
You want the person that says, thank you so much for that information. I'm going to think about it and I'm going to respond. I mean, you don't want somebody who's just always flying off the cuff and
we can do this. No, you want somebody who's measured and who takes a moment, because if that person is making decisions for you and your team or your business or your company, you want the decisions to be measured and to be well thought through. So I think that's a good indication.
And if I was really confident, I would have said that at the end of the answer that. And this is how I approach all my work. I try to make sure I think through thoroughly.
Brilliant.
If I was at
I love that.
Right?
Yeah, this is how I approach most things in everything in life. I'm just this really well together, put together person.
Namaste. I think about it all. But that's not true at all about myself. So for any future employers, that's not true. I don't. Sometimes I think off the cuff. But it is, if you felt really confident and that was the way you could say that's the way I like to approach things, is to think about it.
That's the way I like to approach things. That doesn't mean I'm doing it every day.
That's right. So have you ever rejected after the negotiation? Have you ever said, thank you, this job's not going to work for me?
I have been offered the job, and before I've even heard the remuneration package, I already know I don't want it. So because either you could go into an interview and they tell you there's loads of travel, they tell you that you're working with really difficult clients, or in a market that's there are a number of things that could make that job not for you. And it could also be that you got an offer somewhere else that you want, because if you're job hunting, usually it's not just with one company. So I have said that I'm not going to accept, and given the reasons why, it was a bit awkward. It was a bit awkward.
But are there times, I have said this before, when I have really wanted to work with a company, this is a saying I say a lot, that it may not be about the number at the end of the day. It may be about the environment that I'm getting into. And so I think that is also something that is important to convey, that this isn't all a numbers game to me. It is a complete package. And I've said that often because sometimes companies say, I don't think we're in your salary range. And they may not understand what I'm going for as far as early on. And so maybe I'm looking to totally switch careers and this could be an opportunity. And I appreciate, and I know the market rate's lower for that. I know that the hours will be better for me personally, or location, like you said, other things. There's value in that. Mm-hmm. And they, what you put a value proposition on, nobody can really know and until you've gone through the whole interview process. But I've had companies that just said, we're not even going to give you an offer because we think we're below where you want to be. And I was sad by that because I liked the company.
Yeah.
And, they just think, oh, we're not going to give you an offer because we just think you're not going to accept it. And I thought, oh, that's terrible. So for all the people watching, don't say that. I mean, you never know what your offer is or what your worth is.
And also what the role means to that person. You know, it could be, again, if it's a career change or if it's coming back to work after, a period of time out of the workplace or changing location or different skills, it's not just about the salary. So this is a question about not just negotiating the salary, because obviously your salary is going to be in the contract. Would you, the things that you've negotiated that are ancillary to the contract, but still really, ancillary to the salary, but still really important to you, like the flexi time, will you put that in your salary, in your contract?
So in the US, it is a little different, I feel like, than you guys, because we're most states and most jobs are at will, and meaning you can fire and hire at any time.
We discussed this, yeah.
And so in the US, I think that is a little different. All that being said, there is an offer letter and an acceptance letter. It is not for any term at all. It is just that if it is typically, typically if you show up to work and you work, this is what you will get.
Right.
And it will be, the main factors that have been in there would have been the hours of operation. And by that, they mean we're typically open, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and we expect people within a range. That range may change for me because, as I said, I'm not an early bird, but it'll be the time off. It'll be your paid time off. It will be your medical insurance, all the things associated with that, and your salary. So those are typically the big and bonus opportunities. Those would be the typical big categories for that, but no term, no time. And those will be included. And I do think if there's something else, though, if it's big, you want to get it in writing in some way, because you can't just do it on a handshake.
No.
And hope it works.
Don't do anything on a handshake.
Yeah.
Don't do anything on a handshake. So if you negotiated working from home on a Friday, get that in your contract, because your manager may not be your manager forever, or they may change processes, or so if you can get it in the contract, get it in there. And it's just a simple, can we make sure that the contract is updated to reflect, what we've agreed? Done. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be, I'm going to send this to my lawyer, I'm going to get my lawyer to look over it. It doesn't need to be that. It could just be, can put it back on them. Can you update the contract with what we've agreed? Done. But it needs to be in there somehow, because otherwise, who knows what you agreed?
Right. Right. And they may not have gotten, some people may just want you really badly, and they may have been a yes man to you. Oh. They may have shaken your hand. And I've gotten the things before where they're like, you're coming in at a manager level, but we know you have director level skills. We'll move you up as fast as we can. And then the company kind of goes or the company just kind of doesn't really do that. But they told me that, and I believed them. Mm-hmm. And that was my fault. That was on me. I should have negotiated early on. I need to come in at this level, because that is, I hear the words you're telling me, then put them in there. Mm-hmm. Let's deal with that. Let's be proactive about that, because I've been burned on stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They kind of kept me at a level that was below where I needed to be. Mm-hmm. And that was a short-lived tenure at that company, because I felt like I didn't do the right negotiations. I moved on. It was not a good situation for me.
I think I have stunted my own negotiation I just really wanted to work for this company. And they said, really want you, what's your salary expectation? Like, where are we salary-wise? And I had just said I'd be looking for at least X. Yep. I just said at least. And realistically, it was a bracket. And I should have said a bracket so that they could be, within that bracket. Don't get me wrong, they didn't give me X. They gave me just a tiny bit more than X, because that's what I asked for, effectively. That is what I asked for. And I thought, and then I didn't want to negotiate, because they asked me the question. So if I answered and then you've given me an offer that meets that that expectation. Going in to negotiate again, I just looked silly. So I just took it. And I didn't negotiate anything else. I didn't negotiate anything. There was just a question about salary expectations. I gave my silly answer, and
Yeah. That is the answer of I have to look at the complete package. And now I did the same thing. But your answer has to be that. I have to look at the complete package. Mm-hmm. It cannot just be a number in a vacuum. That's not enough.
And this is the reason why employers offer packages, because they accept that it's not just the salary that gets you to the office every day. It's, it's the perk box, it's the holiday, it's the, the sick pay, it's all of those things they know influences your decision to come and work for them, because, it's all important to us.
It could be also a cult of personality. And I mean this in a good way. I had a girlfriend who's pretty high up as a lawyer, and she interviewed with somebody, and it was going to be a step down for her as far as title goes. But in her mind, she said, I just really want to work for this woman. I liked her so much. I think she's got such a good reputation. So part of it is also what, that side of it. It could be that there's a desire to get into, to learn from a person or find a great mentor, so there's just a lot of value in that.
Yeah. I can really appreciate that.
That you just may say the range changes because the whole value proposition is different. Mm-hmm. It's not maybe just a job. It's a place I feel like I can learn, grow, get a skill set I don't have, whatever that is. And I think that's important to let a company know that when you are talking about these numbers. Like, I find the value of this company in X and Y, and that's why I do need this amount of money, but this is also a value to me. And I understand that I understand the value you as a company are giving to me. And because you understand that value, I think they may respect you a little more in the negotiation process. It may be an option for you to kind of show why you think this company's right and why you're a good fit, and then therefore justify the salary you need, the time off you need, all those things. So it is a challenge, though.
It is a challenge. And sometimes it's, I've certainly been on the phone doing these negotiations for myself, not for clients. And I have said things and I sort of pull this face like, and you're like, and you're just trying to be silent. Like, one piece of advice I will give you when you're negotiating on the phone, obviously you can't do this face to face, you can do it after email, is to make your offer or to say what your expectation is and then be quiet. Do not justify, do not start saying because, and over explain it. You confidently state what you're asking for and then zip. And then just give them a moment to think. The silence is sometimes doesn't need filling. It's just you're confidently stating what you want, and that's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. But that is a long-term process to get to there.
Oh, it really is. It really is. I mean, it helps that you and I negotiate for a living. Do you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, totally. Yeah. And that I train people for depositions.
Oh.
So I train people to respond to questions, and that is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give every time somebody does a deposition is answer the question asked and then stop.
Right.
And
okay.
love the silence.
Love the silence. Sometimes you've just got
because you want to make them work for it. I mean, you want to because when you start talking, you are making presumptions. Much like they may make like the company that made a presumption about not giving me an offer because they thought I wouldn't accept it. Well, they just because the dollar amount wasn't there, they didn't talk to me about anything else.
Yeah.
They didn't figure out what the things were that I valued. And so they missed on that. Now, maybe they missed and they wanted to miss and they were telling me that just because they didn't want to hire me.
I very much doubt it.
But the point is, you may allow them to talk afterwards. And I think that, to me, love the silence and that's a hard place to get to. And, but man, I think we certainly want to hear if you've got negotiating questions or how to answer a question that you've been asked. If you've got an email question, ask us. That's what we're here for. We want to help respond, and we'll help you think through the hard questions so that you can get the things you need.
Definitely. I really think that more women should do this and actually just use any opportunity you can to negotiate. And I'm not saying being one of those people that doesn't leave anything on the table, negotiating for negotiation's sake, but it is a learned skill. So, you do have to just sometimes ask for what you want and it's cringy and you're just dying sometimes, but you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. That is a great place to leave that off at. Right there.
It's time for the Fast Five. No planning, 5 questions, real answers.
So, are you ready for the Fast Five, Mel?
Let's do it.
I've got some really, I think, tough questions because they're from the Tim Ferriss show and they're the questions he asks all of his guests. And you know, he's got world-class performers on there and I always love listening to people's answers. So I will ask you these questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Question 1. What is the book or books that you've given most as a gift and why?
Of Mice and Men is my favorite book.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's probably pretty sad, but as an overall book, one, it's short, so maybe that works out for some people, and I cry every time I read it. And but to me, it reminds me of what we're here for, and it's not always ourselves. And so I think the message on that one of the Lenny relationship, and that if you've read the book, is just an important one, even though he shoots him at the end of the day.
Yes.
It's terrible, but it is, it just reminds me that we're here for other people. And I think that's just, it's a tragedy and some of life is hard, but it in that way, it reminds me of that special relationship that they have. And it's just always been a favorite book. And so I give it away a lot. And there's one of my favorite. The other thing, I'm going to give you one other one though, is 1,000 Places to Go Before You Die. That's the other one.
I haven't heard of that.
It's great. It's just a travel book, and it's like it is like the top places, just 1,000 places to go before you die. Both of those things are really important to me. So there's
I like it, and I like the justification for both. I really like those.
Yeah, good.
Second question: what purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 mons, or in recent memory? You know, what have you bought?
Okay. Wow, let me think about that. $100 or less. I would probably have to say I bought a devotional book, and it's been a good devotional book for me. It's just been a place where I can meditate and learn, and so for me that's been a helpful one. And it's called Sparkling Gems, and I read it every morning. It's a great book for me. Helps me just understand my faith better, and so for me it's been a very a book where I've learned a lot. And then also, and I feel like books are like podcasts, things you buy like that.
Yes.
Probably have more impact than the thing, right? Whatever. I don't know. I mean, probably the worst impact of $100 or less is like a box of donuts. You know?
Oh, tell me about it. I just went to Krispy Kreme today, actually.
When I'm thinking about that kind of question, I do think of like the books or the things I read or the things that will have a long-term impact that will.
So where did you get it? Where did you get it from?
Online. I read on my phone.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's probably, and I think it was $35.
See? This just, you don't need these big, expensive things.
No.
$35.
That's a great question, though. It makes me think
I really,
$100.
Yeah. How do you spend $100?
And thank you for converting to dollars.
Yes. How has failure or apparent failure set you up for later success, and or do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Yeah. So I don't view life as a win or lose proposition. No. I try to view it as a win or learn proposition. And so from my wins, you love those, but you certainly from your failures learn so much more and learn so much more about yourself and learn how to make yourself better. And so I think early on in my career, I was less inclined to, I thought I could work in a vacuum early in my career and I could just get it done and do the task. And I realized there is more to life and to work than just shutting my door and doing the task. There is a relationship element that is important. It's important to be present with people, to plan meetings in person with people, not just do everything on the phone or on the email. And from my own failures of lack of communication or bad communication on my part because I thought I could do it in the vacuum. I have really learned that the time element of work matters. And so while I love things like flex time and working from home, I do think there's these in-person opportunities that are just really key.
Yes.
And as much as I kind of hate that, like I wish it wasn't the case, but I wish I could just do everything in a vacuum and just handle it myself. And I feel like I could do that, but that's not how the world is. That's not how life works. You know, that's how families work. None of that is the way it works. It's all done together. We're all here working together. And so just, I think my failures of poor communication or miscommunication over years and wanting to do things as a lone wolf had not served me well in life. And so I've tried to change that.
No, I can definitely appreciate that. I think that it's all too easy to just think that you can do everything, and delegation and, you know, communication. It's definitely a learned skill.
It is, and there's no class for that in college.
There's no class for these soft skills. The fourth question is, if you could get a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, getting a message out to millions of people, what would it say?
Have you listened to the Not Wonder Woman podcast?
Oh gosh, I expect no less from you.
I am a whore for our little brand.
You are, you really are. Oh my gosh.
No, that's it.
No, well done.
And I have it on the side of my car. And if Customs ever lets you get your gift out of Customs, you will plant your
I will put it
sticker
on the side of the car.
your car.
Do you know what? I feel like the moment I do that, I will become an honorary American.
You will.
Because people don't do stuff like that here. Like, they really don't. And do you know what? I might even put it on the side of my husband's work van when he's not looking.
Please do it. Please do it.
When he's not looking.
A picture of that.
Yeah.
Like by the Tower of London. That would make all my dreams come true.
Oh gosh, how brilliant. No, I really cannot wait. Yeah. So I really appreciate that was your answer. I really appreciate that, because someone's got to do the promotion. You've got it all in hand. I love that.
Shameless promotion.
I know, like shameless. Like we're talking about a billboard and you're going, right, not Wonder Woman podcast. Right. I love that. I love it. Last question. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? And it could be investment of money, time, energy.
Oh, sure. That's easy. My husband.
Oh,
yeah.
Lovely.
No, it has to be, right? I mean, he's my best friend. So I've loved that. And my friendships, I will say the other best investment though. I mean, my friendships are it, like friendships and husband, hands down. Like, I feel like I've won that game. Like, I have the best humans in my life and I'm so grateful for them. And so that part of life is really important to me. And that investment, there's none greater. The second one though is, I think when I think about things like my education, you know, the investment in yourself is worth everything because you are your biggest commodity in life. So if we're thinking about this from a, you know, just a, I don't know, more business perspective, not a relational perspective, I think investing in yourself, teaching yourself the skills you need to do, learning, all those things to me are the best investment I can make.
No, I love that. And I do really love that you said your husband. That is just... Your answers have been on fire today. I'm just like, oh my gosh,
and it's early.
Just make sure that do you know what? I think the morning might be your best time, Mel.
No, by the way, it is 10:05 my time. So I told you I rolled in around 10 a.m.
Right.
So the last 5 minutes, you know, it's fine.
The caffeine has kicked in. I love that.
Was that my 5?
That was your 5. That was your 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have some random ones for you today. Get ready.
Thank you.
It is... And it starts with a random question about a random stranger. What random stranger has had the biggest impact on your life?
Oh, random stranger. Do you know what? Because I can't think, I'm going to tell you about something that I read about somebody else's random story. But it really, got me. So somebody that I follow on Twitter, another blogger, said that she was at the park with her children. This old gentleman came over and said, do you mind if I just watch the children play? All my children are grown up. And she said, yeah, fine. And he just basically said that, you know, his children have grown up. His wife has like in old age has become very quiet, like they don't have much conversation. And he said they grow up so quickly that you just have to like soak up every minute of them. And I was reading it and I thought, oh my gosh, like, you know, it's just so easy to get wrapped up in your own stuff and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And then you look and your child is off to senior school, or, you know, and it doesn't exactly happen like that, but the I feel like the milestones with children happen quite quickly. I mean, Poppy is off to reception in September, and I don't know how that happened. I don't know, because I remember bringing her home. I've got vividly in my mind setting down the car seat on the carpet and thinking, and I feel like every parent has this thought, she's here and there are no medical professionals around. There's nobody, there's no one here to like tell me what to do, or like how has this happened? How is there a baby just here? Like, what's going on? I remember that. And now I've got a child who is, I mean, yeah, she's full of energy, amazing. That little one. But I think it was that, and I don't have my own like stranger story, unfortunately, but I thought I'd share that one because that was, was at the forefront of my mind, and it was probably going to be any better than anything that I could remember, because strangers tend to ask me to take their photo. That's about it. They're like, oh, can you help us? We're tourists in London. Can you take our photo? And because I'm a blogger, I am like that friend that you want taking all the photos. Like, I'm taking different angles. I'm like, can you look there? So I take a great photo of strangers in the street. But in terms of something that has really impacted me, it was reading somebody else's stranger account online.
I love that. And random response to your photo taking. Yeah. Somehow every time when I'm in Europe, I must look like every European. I don't know, because I always get asked to take like as if I'm a local all the time. My husband's like, what about your face says, come talk to me and ask me to take your picture. But also I do take 50 pictures. That's as well.
It.
So that
if you want a photo, come and speak to us. I will take the photo. When I was in Positano, I was on holiday, just got back last week. There was a couple and they were trying to take like a selfie and it wasn't working. I said, do you want me to take your photo? I fully stood in the road. I was like, I was like, this is good. Like, this shot is good. And they couldn't believe it. They were like, oh my God, thank you. Like, don't mention it.
It's going to be their Christmas card this year. Question 2, what achievement are you proud of but most people would consider silly or weird?
I have no fillings in my tea.
That's awesome. No, that is, look, I am so serious. I died when I had my first filling, and because I was old, I was like 32 when I had a filling, and I was like, my mouth is tainted forever now.
None. I'm just like, boom.
That is dropped the mic right there. I love that answer. That might be why we're friends, among many other reasons. Yes. But that is probably up there. Okay, so here's my other question 3. What period in history had the best fashion, or do you wish you could just live and wear that fashion all the time?
Tudor times. Tudors. I love everything about the Tudors. It was just, if you've seen any films where they recreate it, I'm just like, I know briefly about what was going on under all of those dresses, and it's painful, it's effort, and they probably smelled really bad because they didn't have great hygiene and products that we have today. But I just think they looked amazing. Everything down to like the wigs, the hair, they developed their own kind of like routines for bed and stuff like that, and just everything. I love that Elizabethan kind of era.
Yes,
love it. Beautiful. And also I think, and my history is not amazing, but Marie Antoinette is, I mean, I just, if I could go back in time, it would be to either one of those individuals' time. I'd like to be in their respective courts, just for a little while.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just for a little while. I love that answer. Okay, so how quickly do you jump to conclusions about people?
Oh, do you know what? I feel like I do it really quickly, but I'm really good at talking myself out of it.
Yeah.
So I'll go, this person is da-da-da-da-da, and then I'll quickly go, actually, Kieran, you jumped to some conclusions there. And I'm talking about making, and usually it's because that person's provoked a reaction in me. that I make these snap decisions about these people. Sometimes I do it with my husband and we're just being funny. Like,
right.
I'm like, yeah, that person is one of these people that does X, Y, and Z. Trust me on that. And then but my husband's a lot more, in certain circumstances, he will look at me and just like shake his head and like, really? Really? And on what basis have you made this decision? And then I go, actually, no, probably not. And, do the responsible bit of talking myself out of it. So I feel like I can, if somebody has annoyed me, I make an assumption really quickly. But I'm trying to be more responsible and talk myself out.
I understand.
Yeah,
I
get
understand. I'm totally with you on that. I do try to be more responsible, but I'm not that good at it. Okay, last one of my fast five. What is something that you think you'll regret in the future not starting now? Or what is something that you already regret not starting sooner?
Something I regret not starting sooner is for me, it's not even for me, it's for Poppy. I have not put her in lots and lots of extracurricular activities yet. Mm-hmm. And that was a conscious decision not to do that because I wanted her to be a bit fluid, not have such a strict schedule straight away. The only thing she really does is swimming and she loves it. And I just wanted her to sort of have this transition from nursery to reception, swimming, because there's no compromise on swimming. It's not even an extracurricular activity. I think it's part of the, phonics, maths, swimming is in there. Right. But the reason why I regret not starting it sooner is because I recently read a book that said that extracurricular activities for children help them have the focus for their, core studies. Because if they're having to practice dance, if they're having to practice a language, if they're having to practice a gymnastics move and have that focus, it spills over to everything else. So I started everything. I did pretty much everything going. Thanks, Mom. When I was about 3 years old. So I was doing ballet when I was 3. I was doing French when I was 3. So to not have given her that because I didn't want her to have the rigid kind of, and also it was kind of selfish. I just didn't want to be like running around to a different class every day. Because obviously I'm working as well. So I was just thinking, actually, if she's done a long day in nursery, how am I then going to cram in all this other stuff? So that is the one thing I regret, but she's only 4. So
that is right. Well, and also you may have been teaching her to be a complete person with like relationships, not the focus.
Yeah, actually, that's a really thank you for that because I have been like, I've missed the boat.
No, give yourself some grace. You may tell her that always 100% of a schedule isn't the value and the priority in life that we all need to have.
That's so true.
I feel like sometimes
that's so true. Yeah,
we all just say, I'm busy, busy, busy. That's my answer, and that seems like a good answer sometimes to people. And in my mind, I'm like, that's a really sick way of thinking about it.
I know, like, I'm so busy. I'm so important. Like,
important. Yeah, you're not actually. And then also, neither am I. And let's just go hang out and have a glass of wine.
That's it. I mean, I could really do with a glass of wine.
I think you're teaching Poppy to be a good whole person. So don't beat yourself up.
No, thank you for that. But that was my answer.
This episode is generously sponsored by Blonde Biscotti Coffee and Biscotti Bar in the heart of Houston, Texas. They are proud to serve third wave coffee and soft baked biscotti. BlondeBiscotti.com. Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to click the subscribe button on iTunes so you never miss a show. And we want to hear from you, so please feel free to send us your questions and comments to notwonderwomanpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us at our website, notwonderwoman.com.